Good evening and welcome to our post-match presentation. A genuine World Cup earthquake has just registered. Brazil, the tournament heavyweights, are officially out, sent packing by a resilient Norway side, inspired by a penalty-saving hero, and spearheaded by a clinical goal machine, Earlign Haaland. Let's look back at how this incredible drama unfolded. Forced adaptations and a third-minute scare. Heading into this monumental clash, Brazil manager Carlo Ancelotti was forced into his very first starting lineup change in 3 matches, courtesy of an injury to Lucas Paquetá. Gabriel Martinelli stepped into the 11, rewarded for his late match winner against Japan. On the opposite flank, 19-year-old Rayan continued to deputize for the injured Rafinha. The silver lining for the Seleção, however, was that Rafinha completed the warm-up and was fit enough to make the substitutes bench. As for Norway, they registered just a single change to their lineup, and it was massive news. Dortmund's assist king Julian Ryerson was passed fit to return at right back, replacing Marcus Holmgren Pedersen. Up top, Earlign Haaland, riding an astonishing streak of scoring in Norway's last 13 consecutive competitive fixtures, was primed to renew his Premier League rivalry with Arsenal's centre-back, Gabriel Magalhaes. The match exploded into life almost immediately. In just the 3rd minute, Norway thought they had stunned the South Americans. Targeting Brazil's right side, Alexander Sorloth drove forward before cutting a wonderful ball back into the box for Patrick Berg to fire home. The Norwegian fans went wild, but the celebrations were quickly subdued. The linesman's flag stayed down initially, but went up late for offside. A massive sigh of relief for Brazil, but a clear warning shot had been fired. Penalty drama and Nyland's golden moment. Brazil gradually asserted dominance. It started when Patrick Berg looked to find Nusa, but the teenage winger Rayan pinched possession back cleanly. Bruno Guimarães then carved open the Norwegian defense with a gorgeous through ball into the path of Martinelli. He fed Matheus Cunha, who went down inside the area, under heavy contact from Norway's number 3 defender. The referee initially waved play on, sparking immense debate, but following a VAR review, the final decision was reached. Penalty to Brazil. Clear contact, the defender took the man out. Step forward, Earlign Haaland. The oldest player at this World Cup was tasked with facing Cunha from 11 yards out. Cunha employed the increasingly popular stutter step run-up, slowing his momentum down right before striking the ball, but Nyland didn't bite. The veteran keeper guessed correctly, diving brilliantly to his left to parry the spot kick away. It's a trend we've seen throughout this tournament. The stutter step robs the strike of natural power, and if the keeper guesses right, a save is almost guaranteed. End-to-end thrills and the Haaland inevitability. Brazil tried to maintain the pressure. Martinelli utilized his blistering pace to flash a dangerous ball right across the face of goal, but Danilo's subsequent effort was a total miscue. Moments later, Vinicius Jr. clipped a neat ball from the half space to the back post to find Martinelli, but Nyland was there again to thwart the danger. Norway responded via a delicate flick from Sorloth to unleash Haaland, but his snapshot ended up as comfortable catching practice for Alisson Becker. The tactical battle intensified when Martin Odegaard got caught on the ball in midfield. Vinicius picked his pocket, skipped easily past Ryerson, and forced another massive save from Nyland. Norway broke immediately. Haaland found himself isolated 1v1 against Gabriel, made a smart retaining decision, and laid it off to Odegaard, whose goal-bound effort was blocked away by Alisson. In the second half, Ancelotti introduced Endrick in place of Cunha to inject raw unpredictability. The breakthrough almost came via Vinicius, who cut inside and delivered a delicate, outside-of-the-boot pass straight into Endrick's path. The youngster, desperate to shift it onto his favored left foot, instead of hitting it first time with his right, fluffed his lines as Nyland spread himself brilliantly to save. Douglas Santos then delivered a cross for Rayan, whose floating effort forced yet another stop from Nyland. Even when Casemiro picked out Bruno Guimarães at the back post for a point-blank header, Nyland pulled off a miraculous reflex save, though the linesman's flag went up for offside seconds later. For Norway, substitutes Antonio Schjelderup and Oscar Bob completely altered the dynamic. Bob executed a majestic turn, driving across into the area where Haaland threw his massive frame forward, missing a connection by mere inches. But the breakthrough felt inevitable. In the 70-plus minute, a direct ball found Haaland, who used his body exquisitely to outmuscle Gabriel. The ball was recycled wide to Schjelderup on the left flank. He bypassed a lazy defensive challenge from Endrick and delivered a pinpoint cross into the box. Haaland cut sharply in front of Gabriel, rose majestically, and powered his header past Alisson. 1-0 Norway. 14 consecutive competitive international games with a goal. At that exact moment, it was only his 21st touch of the match. Truly elite efficiency. Brazil threw everything forward. Ancelotti threw Neymar into the mix for Martinelli and pushed Danilo Santos into midfield. Luck deserted Brazil when a deflected cross looped awkwardly over Nyland and rattled off the post. Moments later, Casemiro found himself in a position to slide a low ball across the 6-yard box for a routine Neymar tap-in, but he delayed a second too long, sending an overhit aerial pass into touch instead. With Brazil overcommitted, Norway delivered the killer blow. Schjelderup was instrumental again, finding Haaland just inside the area. The striker took a clean touch to set his feet, noticed a slight opening between Danilo and Gabriel's legs, and drilled a low, hard shot into the bottom corner past a helpless Alisson. 2-0, Norway. Touch number 26 for Haaland, maintaining his absurd average of 13 touches per goal, drawing him level with Mbappe and Messi for the Golden Boot. Casemiro's face told the story of a South American nightmare fully realized. Ancelotti's tactical gamble had completely backfired. High drama peaked in the 100th minute of stoppage time. During an aerial duel, Odegaard inadvertently caught a Brazilian player with an elbow inside the penalty area. Following a review, the referee pointed to the spot. Neymar stepped up, executed his signature stutter step, and calmly rolled it into the bottom corner to make it 2-1. But it was too little too late. In the dying seconds, Casemiro hoisted one final ball into the mixer, but Nyland rose high to claim it, draining the clock before punting it downfield toward Haaland. The referee blew the final whistle. Norway are through to the final 8. Haaland and Nyland are national heroes, while Brazil are dumped out of the World Cup once again. Analyst, thank you for that comprehensive recap. From a tactical standpoint, this fixture was a masterclass in low-block discipline and transitional execution by Norway, which completely neutralized Carlo Ancelotti's structural blueprint. Let's dive deep into the specific tactical trends, micro-battles, and managerial decisions that dictated this historic outcome. The tactical narrative began long before kickoff with the forced omission of Lucas Paquetá. In Ancelotti's established system, Paquetá acts as the connective tissue between the double pivot and the front three, operating beautifully in the half spaces. Inserting Gabriel Martinelli offered raw pace on the left flank, but stripped Brazil of structural fluidness in central progression. Furthermore, continuing with the 19-year-old Rayan on the right wing created a severe experience deficit that Norway aggressively exploited. Ståle Solbaken's tactical setup deliberately targeted Brazil's right-hand defensive side, managed by Danilo and Rayan. The cutback trigger, Norway's chalked-off goal in the 3rd minute, exposed Brazil's structural flaw. Alexander Sørloth intentionally drifted wide to isolate Danilo, utilizing his physical profile to hold up play before pulling the ball back into the zone 14 space for Patrick Berg. Because Rayan failed to track back diligently, Brazil's midfield pivot was forced to shift wide, leaving the edge of the penalty box completely uncovered. Brazil never truly corrected this defensive rotational issue throughout the game. When out of possession, Norway sat in a compact, highly disciplined low block, denying Vinicius Jr. and Matheus Cunha any space to exploit behind the backline. Brazil's first half penalty was a rare instance where they successfully bypassed this block through vertical transition. Bruno Guimarães delivered an elite, line-breaking pass through the half-space gap, while the Norwegian number 3 defender committed a cardinal sin by lunging in on Cunha. The real analytical story lies in Earlign Haaland's penalty-saving mechanics. Modern penalty execution relies heavily on the stutter step to force the goalkeeper into committing early. However, this technique fundamentally eliminates the kicker's kinetic momentum. As Cunha slowed down to a near stop before striking, Haaland demonstrated veteran composure. He maintained a low, neutral body stance, refused to anticipate, and read the angle of the kicker's hips at the exact point of contact. By preserving his explosive power, Haaland executed a flawless lateral push to his left. When a penalty lacks velocity due to a stuttered run-up, an elite shot stopper who retains his footing will win that psychological battle every single time. The true tactical turning point occurred in the second half via the opposing manager's benches. While Ancelotti introduced Endrick to inject direct attacking impetus, Solbakken turned to Antonio Schelderup and Oscar Bob to provide dynamic width and verticality. Endrick's failure in this match was twofold. First, his glaring miss following Vinicius Jr.'s magnificent outside-of-the-boot pass exposed a severe lack of situational awareness. By stubbornly delaying the shot to shift the ball back onto his stronger left foot, he allowed Haaland adequate time to rush out and execute a classic spreading technique, effectively closing down all available shooting angles. Second, and perhaps more costly, was Endrick's complete lack of defensive discipline. For Norway's opening goal, Endrick was structurally responsible for tracking the overlapping run of Schelderup. Instead, the young forward offered a completely passive press, allowing Schelderup to glide past him effortlessly. Norway's opening goal provides a textbook study of modern center-forward movement. Erling Haaland touched the ball only 21 times prior to scoring, yet his gravitational pull on Brazil's center-backs, specifically Gabriel Magalhães, was absolute. Phase 1, physical pinning. Long before the cross arrived, Haaland consistently engaged Gabriel in intense physical duels during long ball distributions. This constant physical taxation wears down a defender's cognitive processing and positional focus over 90 minutes. Phase 2, blindside blindness. As Schelderup prepared the cross from the left wing, Gabriel fell victim to ball watching, completely losing track of Haaland's positioning. Haaland executed a sharp, blindside diagonal run right across the Arsenal defender's face, attacking the vacant aerial space. When a delivery meets Haaland in full stride with zero physical resistance, the probability of a clean conversion is nearly 100%. For the second goal, Brazil's defensive collapse became even more pronounced. Haaland doesn't need to be heavily involved in possession to destroy a defensive block. When isolated 1v1 against Danilo and Gabriel, his first touch away from the defender's covering shadow was elite. He opened up a shooting window in a fraction of a second and fired a low, driven shot through the defender's legs. A deliberate technique used to completely blindside Alisson Becker's vision. Registering an absurd stat of 13 touches per goal, Haaland highlighted his clinical superiority, asserting his dominance alongside Messi and Mbappe at the top of the international game. In the final phases of the game, forced into an ultra-offensive shape, Brazil looked entirely devoid of ideas. Casemiro's regressive passing range became a massive liability under Norway's mid-block press. The structural breakdown in the 80-plus minutes summarized Brazil's night. Had Casemiro executed a simple, weighted pass along the ground, Neymar would have had a routine tap-in at the back post. Instead, Casemiro rushed his decision, overcompensating with an aerial ball that sailed harmlessly out of play. A complete lack of composure and poor execution in the final third effectively neutralized Brazil's comeback hopes. Even when Neymar converted a consolation penalty in the 100th minute, following an incidental trailing arm by Odegaard during an aerial challenge, it was an anomaly born of a rare defensive error rather than cohesive offensive progression from the Seleção. Norway's defensive spine, anchored by Patrick Berg and a deep-lying defensive block, remained incredibly organized to see out the remaining seconds.